Sri Raghunath Das Goswami name is there, Rupa Raghunath Padi. I'll sing a different melody this time. Goranga bolite habe pulaka sharira. Goranga bolite habe pulaka sharira. Hari Hari bolite nayane babene. Hari Hari bolite nayane babene. Gauranga bolite habe apulaka sharira. Gauranga bolite habe apulaka sharira. Hari Hari bolite nayane babene. Hari Hari bolite nayane babene. Ara kabe nitai chande karuna hari. Ara kabe nitai chande karuna hari. Samsara vasana kabe tuchha habe. 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 Vishaya chariya kabe shraddha habe. Rupa Raghunatha Krishna Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam Pangam langayate girim Yat kripa tamam vande Shri Gurun dinataranam. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahabhadanaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gaura trishe namaha. Nityanandam namastubhyam Premananda pradayane Kalo kalmashanashaya Janavapataye namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Namo Nalananetraya Venuvadya Vinodane Radha Dhara Sudha Pana Shalane Vanamalane Radhe Vrindavanadishe Karunamritavahini Lakshay Vrinde Namaste. Namo Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavata Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nitya Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama. I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the most worshipable divine lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srimad Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. So today we will continue and possibly be able to finish this chapter. I read it through today. Very many wonderful verses in the story, the history of our most exalted Param Mahapagavad, eternal associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Shri Radha and Krishna, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Because he is our Prayojan Tattva Acharya. You know, Prayojan Tattva? What is Prayojan Tattva?
Truth of the ultimate goal of life.
Yeah. The whole Vedic knowledge consists of three main topics, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained. Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. This is very important, this topic. And the three predominating deities of Krishna in his forms of Sri Madan Mohan, Sri Govindaji, and Sri Gopinathji. Those are the deities who are the deities of these three tattvas. And their function of these deities is also revealed through those who enter into the relationship, the sambandha and the abhideya with these three deities. Not only that, our Gayatri mantras are worshipping these three deities. At the beginning of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita also, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is introducing these three deities. And he's saying, these teen Thakur, these three Thakurs, are the life and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And we know that there is one particular deity in Vrindavan who self-manifested. And everyone knows him. Sri Radharamanji. And that Radharamanji is actually these three deities combined. Did you know that? In the Rajmandal Kirtan book, Gurudev's explaining. The lotus feet of Radharaman represent Sri Madan Mohan Vigraha. Why? Because if we want to approach the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Param Bhagavan Sri Krishna, we want to approach his lotus feet. So he enables us to do that in his form of Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan means what? The attractor of Cupid. And we already heard in our study of Ray Ramananda Sambad that Krishna is the new Cupid, the ever-fresh Cupid, Kamadeva. So the form of Krishna as Madan Mohan, as I told, he is the deity of Sambandha Gyan, Sambandha Tattva. So first there has to be knowledge of Sambandha, of relationship. That Sambandha Gyan is given throughout the Vedas. And when Krishna himself spoke the Bhagavad Gita, then that Bhagavad Gita was presenting Sambandha Gyan, as well as Abhideya, as well as Prayojan, but in a very synopsized way. But for approaching the ultimate Abhideya Tattva and Prayojan Tattva, Srimad Bhagavatam is required. Srimad Bhagavatam to enter into all of the activities of bhakti by studying all 9 cantos before the 10th canto and understanding the different levels of bhaktas as Srila Sanatana Goswami has revealed in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita. 5 levels of bhaktas. So Abhideya means Shuddha Bhakti. In the Das Mul Tattva, it is the 9th one. Shuddha Bhakti, pure Bhakti, Without Shuddha Bhakti, there is no possibility of attaining the Prayojan. So that is why Srila Rupa Goswami was empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he wrote the entire Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and then Ujjvala Nilamani as the sequel, and then all of his other books, so that everyone can understand what is pure bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti. There are various names, but without the 6 Goswamis, it will not be possible to enter into these, because Srila Sanatana Goswami is the Acharya of Sambandha Gyan. Srila Rupa Goswami is the Acharya of Abhideya Gyan, and Raghunath Das Goswami is the Acharya of Prayojan. So that is why Narottam Das Thakur has said in the song that we just sang, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti. Oh, when will that day come that I will become so filled with eagerness, longing, and greed even, lobha, to follow under the footsteps of Rupa Raghunath. And Prabhupada says Rupa Raghunatha Pade, as Krishnadas Kaviraj also says, his verse at the end of every chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Jar Ash. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Jar Ash. Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. Jar Ash means it is my hope that I'm always holding deep in my heart. Rupa Raghunatha Pade. All of my hopes, all of my aspirations lies in the feet of Rupa and Raghunath. And Prabhupada says Rupa Raghunath also refers to from Rupa all the way up to Raghunath. Sri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Dasa Raghunath and first Rupa Raghunath. So it means all 6 Goswamis. They are the gurus in this Kali Yuga. They are the gurus. They are the direct associates descending down from Goloka Vrindavan. They're not conditioned souls, but they played the role of conditioned souls to teach us. That's how Mahaprabhu taught so many lessons, through his own personal associates. So we have to approach them. We have to take shelter of them. We have to hear about them. We have to study what they've left. We have to come under their anugatya. So we're so fortunate because our gurus are pure Rupanuga Vaishnavas. This is a very high thing, very rare thing, but they are. In this line, the Rupanuga Sampradaya. But Gurudev also said that you have to understand what is the meaning of Rupanuga. It is not enough to just say, oh, we are Rupanugas, without actually acting as a Rupanuga, both internally and externally. Srila Gurudev used to explain that not all Raganuga Bhaktas are Rupanuga. You heard that before? Not all Raganuga Bhaktas are Rupanuga. How is that? Can you explain?
Well, there are many associates of Shri Krishna in Vrindavan, and so one feels a kinship for a particular associate who might even be in Sakya Ras or in Vatsalya Ras, but Rupa Manjari, Rupa Goswami, is specifically in Madhurya Ras and specifically serving Srimati Radharani under Lalita Sakhi's guidance. And so we follow Rupa in that way.
And also Paliyadasi path. That is the mood. Radha Dasyam. What is the meaning of Radha Dasyam? Means servitude. Dasyam means servitude to the lotus feet of Vrishabhanunandani Srimati Radharani. Radha Dasyam. It is the highest aspiration of the Rupa Nuga Vaishnavas. I was reading, when I was down in Los Angeles, I was reading in a class the final chapter of the book of Sri Guru and His Grace by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. That book, that last chapter should be studied and understood deeply by every devotee, because the title is The Line of Sri Rupa. The Line of Sri Rupa. So, and in an incredible way, how he expresses the stages, beginning from the very beginning of spiritual inquiry, and how gradually more understanding of the sadhya and the sadhana becomes more and more refined. So, the line of Sri Rupa ultimately culminates in Radha Dasyam, not Krishna Dasyam. And I remember many, many years ago when I first read that book of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and he was describing this conception of Radha Dasyam in that chapter, and in some other places as well. And that was something that our Srila Prabhupada, he did not openly speak about it so much. It's there in his books, but it was not a topic that he was entering into. But Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj decided that now at this stage of the maturing, the gradual maturing of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, and also being requested and entrusted with the task of bringing them farther along the pathway, he now revealed this understanding of Radha Dasyam. And I can remember like a light going on and thinking, oh, this is ultimately what all of our gurus are aspiring for. Now, in our Sangha, Srila Gurudev was quite profusely distributing these conceptions. So therefore, it's not a very, rare thing for the devotees in our Sangha. However, just because someone hears about it, or watches drama, or hears different pastimes, does it mean that you're becoming a Rupa Nuga Vaishnava? That you're becoming a follower of Rupa Goswami? That has become your sole aspiration? No, of course not. But for some who do try to go deeply and nurture this and perform the necessary prayers and bhajan, and then that becomes a possibility. Seeds are being planted. Gurudev used to say, all are hearing, but really I'm speaking for only a few. All are hearing, but I'm speaking for only a few. And all others, they're getting some sprinkle. See? So, Raghunath Das Goswami Pad is so important for us, should become more dear to us than our life, these personalities. Sri Guru should become more dear to us than our life. That's the beginning. And then our Guru Parampara, each one of these personalities. There should be Vishrambena Gurur Seva. Service to Guru with Vishramba. What is Vishramba?
Intimacy.
Yeah. Gurudev said, more intimate than how you feel towards your family members. Such a closeness, you know. So very near and dear, like they say, your near and dear ones. Or your loved ones, right? It's a popular term. Your loved ones. But there can be no love more intimate than the love between Sadguru and Sadshishya. There can be no love as pure and as sublime as that love. So we aspire for that. We try to live our lives cultivating these relationships, because everything is about relationship. Everything. It is not about just Gyan and Tattva Gyan, but it's about interacting in that relationship, Abhideya Gyan. Once one is established in Sambandha Gyan, then one can focus more on the Abhideya, the process. But one has to keep the goal as one's target. It has to be fixed. This is what I want. This is what I'm aiming for. And if it isn't yet what we want, at least we can sing the songs of our acharyas, how they are expressing their desires. And Gurudev said, when we sing these songs, we should pray to those personalities who have written them. They are revealing their inner moods and hearts. And please, oh, let your moods come into my heart. So it will take a lifetime, 2, 3, but we're very, very near to this ultimate goal of life. This is something that has to be understood. We are not so far away. It is not some ordinary thing to come in contact with the Rupanuga Sampradaya of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These personalities in this world, this is a very most fortunate occurrence for the jivas. Even to meet any sadhu in the course of wandering in this world. But what to speak of the Rupanuga Vaishnavas, who were specifically chosen and empowered, chosen by Mahaprabhu and empowered by him, to give this to the whole world, for the whole Kali Yuga. So Raghunath Das Goswami's life we've been hearing, right? And so many wonderful lessons and knowledge. So I'm going to read how the renunciation of Raghunath Das Goswami is described, the sequence of the renunciation and everything, and how Mahaprabhu also gives him personal instruction by his request. Swarup Damodar Goswami, because he was given in the hands of Swarup Damodar Goswami, and he learned everything from him. And Mahaprabhu even told, oh, he knows so much more than me. I am entrusting you to him. Yeah, Mahaprabhu told that. So Raghunath Das Goswami, but at one time he requested through Swarup Damodar. And then Swarup Damodar approached Mahaprabhu, oh, Raghunath wants to hear some. Okay, then I am telling. And he told 2 verses, very essential verses for all to understand. But he was specifically giving those to Raghunath Das Goswami at that point in his life where now he has become the actual example. That's why he's called the Prayojan Tattva Acharya. Because his life is the living example of how to attain, how to proceed, and how to approach, and how to ultimately actually attain the ultimate goal of life. Radhadasyam, Krishna Prem. He is the Prayojan Tattva Acharya. So, every time that we hear about these personalities, a samskar is created in our heart. You see? Should never neglect the reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, becoming familiar with the associates of Mahaprabhu. They will become our real family members. Really. Our real eternal family members. They are. So, so, we heard how Mahaprabhu had instructed Govinda to feed for 5 days Raghunath Das Goswami, sumptuously. Let him eat to his heart's content, because so much torture of the body. Can you imagine 13, was it 13 or 11 days, I forget, 13 days, and only ate 3 times, and continually running and crying and weeping and coming to Mahaprabhu, and just sleeping in some cowshed, but only 3 times. So he was all emaciated and dirty, he hadn't bathed. Mahaprabhu embraced him and took pity on him, and told Govinda, he told Raghunath, now you can go bathe in the sea, you take darshan of Jagannath. Then Govinda offered him the plate with the remnants of prasadam from Mahaprabhu, and he accepted this with great happiness. So Raghunath Das stayed under the care of Swarup Damodar Goswami, and Govinda supplied him remnants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's food for 5 days. Now, beginning from the 6th day, Raghunath Das would stand at the gate known as Singhadwara to beg alms after the Pushpanjali ceremony, in which flowers were offered to the Lord. After finishing their prescribed duties, the many servants of Lord Jagannath, who are known as Vishayis, returned home at night. And if they see a Vaishnava standing at the Singhadwara begging alms, out of mercy they arrange with the shopkeepers to give him something to eat. Thus it is the custom for all time that a devotee who has no other means of support stands at Singhadwara gate to receive alms from the servants. A completely dependent Vaishnava thus chants the holy name of the Lord all day, and he sees Lord Jagannath with full freedom. It is a custom for some Vaishnavas to beg from the charity booths and eat whatever they obtain, whereas others stand at night at the Singhadwara gate begging alms from the servants. Now, yesterday we read this verse, renunciation is the basic principle sustaining the lives of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees. Seeing this renunciation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is extremely satisfied. We discussed this yesterday. So, Govinda, he said to Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das no longer takes prasadam here. Now he stands at the Singhadwara where he begs some alms to eat. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, he was greatly satisfied. He said, Raghunath has done well. He has acted suitably for a person in the renounced order. And then Mahaprabhu told like 4 verses here as he was speaking with Govinda, having been informed about Raghunath Das's. Now he's saying, he has acted suitably for a person in the renounced order. He says a person in the renounced order should always chant the holy name of the Lord. He should beg some alms to eat, and he should sustain his life in this way. A vairagi, person in the renounced order, should not depend on others. If he does so, he will be unsuccessful, and he will be neglected by Krishna. Mahaprabhu telling. If a renunciate is eager for his tongue to taste different foods, his spiritual life will be lost, and he will be subservient to the tastes of his tongue. The duty of a person in the renounced order is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra always, Mahaprabhu is telling. He should satisfy his belly with whatever vegetables, leaves, fruits, and roots are available. One who is subservient to the tongue, and who thus goes here and there, devoted to the genitals and the belly, cannot attain Krishna. That's a famous verse. Jivar lalase je iti utti dhai. Jivar lalase means the greed of the tongue. J-I-H-V-A-R. Jiva. So, jivar lalase je iti utti dhai. Anyone who goes here and there for the jivar, the greed of the tongue, then shishno dara parayana krishna nahipai. Shishna means genitals, and udara means belly. So he becomes devoted, parayana, to the tongue, belly, and genitals. And here it says krishna nahipai. He cannot attain Krishna. This is Mahaprabhu speaking about a person in the renounced order of life. We have to understand that he's talking about renunciates. He's not talking about householders here. Okay? However, the householders also, they will have to come to a standard, because the Upadeshamrita first verse is telling what? Was the first shloka of Sri Upadeshamrita. The 6 urges that are in the conditioned souls. What are they? Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, udara upasta vegam, etan vegan yo vishaheta dhira, sarvam apimam pritivim sashishyat. One time Gurudev was telling us a story that when he was in Bombay some years ago, and one of his disciples came to him, some householder Vaishnava, and was asking Gurudev, "Oh, Gurudev, can you tell us some very, rasik harikatha, an intimate harikatha?" And he says, "Do you know Sri Upadeshamrita?" "No, Gurudev, I haven't really read it yet." "Do you know the first shlok?" "No, Gurudev." Then Gurudev told him, Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam. He said, unless you follow this first shlok, and then you follow all of Upadeshamrita, you are not qualified to hear about these topics. You see? First, enter into bhakti. So Mahaprabhu is teaching this because the greatest renunciate in our disciplic succession, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, who exhibited such extreme renunciation, also it told that Srila Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was similar in renunciation. See? So this is his instructions directly from Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu is watching. He's watching over him as he is entering into different stages of more and more renunciation. Because what does that mean? In his case, it means that he's going deeper and deeper in his tasting of Krishna prema, right? And thus he's becoming more and more detached, you see. We cannot imitate. If someone tries to imitate, they will fall down, no doubt about it. So, Now, the next day, Raghunath Das inquired at the lotus feet of Swarup Damodar about his duty. What is my duty? He says, I do not know why I have given up householder life. He's telling, I don't know why I've given up household life. So, what is my duty? Kindly give me instructions. So, ki lagi chadaila ghara. Ghara means the home, the house. I have given up for what reason? Najani uddesh. I don't know the purpose. Ki mora kartavya. Kartavya means my duty. Now what is my duty? O Prabhu, kora upadesh, please give me instructions. So, here is being described in general now, by Krishnadas Kaviraj. He's saying that Raghunath Das, he never even spoke a word before the Lord. Instead, he informed the Lord of his desires through Swarup Damodar Goswami and through Govinda. So the next day, Swarup Damodar Goswami submitted to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, oh, Raghunath Das has this to say at your lotus feet. I do not know my duty or the goal of my life. Therefore, please personally give me instructions from your transcendental mouth. So smiling, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Raghunath Das, I have already appointed Swarup Damodar Goswami as your instructor. You may learn from him what your duty is and how to discharge it. I do not know as much as he. Nevertheless, if you want to take instructions from me with faith and love, then you may ascertain your duties from the following words. Now here's the two verses that Mahaprabhu spoke to Raghunath Das Goswami. Gramya Katha na shunibe, Gramya Varta na kahibe, Balo na kaibe ar, Balo na paribe. So, first of all, he's saying Gramya Katha. So what is Gramya Katha?
It's actually translated as village gossip. But
right. Ordinary talks of common men. Right? Nashunibe. Don't hear. Gramya Varta. Na kahibe. And don't also speak about Gramya Varta, ordinary news. Do not speak. And bhalo na kaibe ar, bhalo na paribe. Do not eat luxurious food, palatable, eat very palatable food. Bhalo na paribe, nor should you dress very nicely. So, instruction being given to a householder, or is it being given to a renunciate? Yeah, it's being given to a renunciate, right? But yet, the duties of the householders are somewhat different than the renunciates. Is it or is it not? Yes. They're in a different stage of life. They have wife, they have children, they have the household. So, they may eat more palatable foods and so forth, and they may also dress nicely. But the renunciate is supposed to be very simple and austere in this regard. These are actually very essential, these instructions. But yet we see that our Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning, he just wore whatever was, actually Gurudev said, oh, Swamiji, he just, whatever anyone gave him, he accepted it, he wore it, you know. Later on, then the disciples were giving beautiful, radiant silks. I remember the first time I saw Srila Prabhupada. when he got off the plane, we were waiting right there in the airport in Detroit. And I had not physically seen him. I had been chanting for a whole year. Chanting means all day long on the streets, 6 hours a day, chanting our rounds, chanting going and coming, lots of chanting, lots of dancing, lots of singing, lots of hearing and preaching. And so, although I hadn't yet personally met Srila Prabhupada, but I felt in my heart. Yeah, I felt that I had met him in my heart. It was a very powerful experience like that I have met him in my heart. And every day we're singing his pranam mantras and following his instructions, even getting some letters from him in our tiny little storefront temple of Chicago. I was sent there to help start that temple. So I wasn't the only one. There were literally a few hundred devotees around America. New temples were started in that year that Prabhupada had gone to India. He was gone to India preaching and starting his movement in India that whole year from 1970 to 71. So when Prabhupada returned to America, there were many, many devotees who had joined during that year. I was one of them. And were waiting for initiation from Prabhupada. But they had been living in the temples, they had been serving. So they converged. I mean, first Prabhupada came to the West Coast, and then after that he came to Detroit. And it was the first time Prabhupada came to the Midwest. And I mean, there must have been about 200 devotees that came there. This is the largest gathering of devotees that I had experienced up to that point, you know. They came from all directions. And I remember we arrived there from Chicago. We hitchhiked up to Detroit, and we arrived there a couple of days before Prabhupada's arrival. And my initiation letter was waiting for me. Because our temple president, who at that time was Bahulasva Das, now he's left his body. So he instructed me and 2 other god brothers, who later became Paramahansa Swami and So they also got initiated at that time, and many, many other devotees. So, but he had told us that we should send our request letters to Srila Prabhupada. And that was a couple of weeks before, or maybe even just 1 week before we left. But when we arrived in Detroit, there was Bhagavan. We went to his office, temple president, Bhagavan. And he said, "Oh, your letters have arrived from Prabhupada, and also your beads." So he gave us each our letter. And then I went and I sat down in the corner. It was a prasadam room. I opened up the letter. And there were the beads also.
And your new name?
Gurugram.
Who's there?
Yeah. He said it in the letter.
Yes.
You know, that letter, I lost it, but some devotee found it. And after Prabhupada departed, you know, they were asking, everybody please send at least copies of your letter. So some devotee sent it in. So my letter is there in the archive, the folio. You can look it up on Prabhupada's letters. It's there. But I had memorized the words of that letter, you know.
May we hear them now? Many are eager.
Let's see. My dear Jeffrey, that was my birth name. Please accept my blessings. I am in due receipt of your letter dated such and such. And I have noted the contents carefully. And I am pleased to inform you that by the recommendation of Bahulasva and Bhagavan Das Prabhus, I gladly consent to accept you as my duly initiated disciple. I have given you the name Urukram Das Brahmachari. The name Urukram is a name of Krishna, and it means one whose activities are glorious. I've forgotten some of the letter. You can look it up and read it. But he said there that you have been regularly chanting your rounds and going for street Sankirtan like this. He says, my request is that you stay there in Chicago and help make our Chicago center a grand success. This is my request to you. And then there was another paragraph, I believe, like 2 paragraphs, and there was another paragraph. And then he said, he said also in the very beginning of the letter, he said, I can tell from your letter that you are a very sincere boy. You know? So I had written him this letter. Believe me, in those days, we did not really know whether Prabhupada would accept us or he would not. It wasn't like definite. So I was under the understanding, when I was writing my letter, it was about 4 pages long. And I was under the impression that I have to convince Srila Prabhupada to accept me. That's actually what I was thinking. And I was feeling that, oh, maybe he won't. But I have to put my case before him. And I actually, I wish I had that letter. Maybe somebody has it. I think they kept a lot of the letters also that were sent by the devotees as well. But that's not in the archives, that you can look that up. So when I was writing the letter, I remember describing that I understand that I am a jiva that has been traveling in this material universe since time immemorial. I'm an eternal soul. And now, by such come to your lotus feet. And I've learned about Krishna. Like this. I was telling things like this to Prabhupada. And I understand that unless you accept me, then where can I go? What can I do? It's like that. Like begging, almost. And then I remember also that I had written something in the letter trying to describe my plight, right? And that I'm just a fallen, conditioned soul, and my mind is always barking at me, like some dog, or like this, Jai Shri Guru Gauranga, Radha Govinda Jiyo Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudai Shan Chakra Jiyo Ki Jai, Jai Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai. So, when Prabhupada, said, I can tell from your letter that you're a very sincere boy, and you have been chanting your rounds regularly and so forth. Then he came to the second paragraph, and he said, you say in your letter, and I've repeated this probably hundreds of times in my life to various devotees, this particular instruction, because he gave me an instruction there, which was so pertinent, unbelievably pertinent. And he said, I can. You say in your letter, in some difficulty, because I remember that I had written something. The mind is like this. And then Prabhupada, he said, you say you're experiencing some difficulty, but that is Krishna's mercy upon you. to make you turn to him more and more. It's like, mercy. This is mercy. That Krishna is putting me in difficulty so that I will turn to him more and more. That's the solution. I had not heard anything like that up to this point. And of course, years later, we would understand that actually this is the meaning of Tatenu Kampam Susamikshamano, that verse. And understanding that everything is the mercy of the Lord. So anyway, he said that, there's Krishna's mercy upon you to make you turn to him more and more. Then he said, so you should go on like you were doing. He said, regularly chanting your rounds, reading our literatures, going for street sankirtan, etc. And in this way you should go on. And you will be happy. And your life will know success. You will be happy and your life will know success. Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Yes. So, how did I get on that topic? I don't remember, but...
Well, Raghunath was getting instruction from Mahaprabhu directly.
Right.
And one of those items after
was
not
about the
eating
silk
luxury.
robes, how he was wearing, like devotees start to give
Yes.
him things.
Right, right.
And I think, you better elaborate more on that.
But how did I get to telling this?
I asked you to tell.
No, that's after I already started telling it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand, to remember the train, how I began.
Because it was Prabhupada's clothing, because you were saying that,
Oh, yes.
that
Yes, oh, I didn't tell this. So then when Prabhupada arrived at the airport, okay, and there's like 200 devotees, right, because in those days they didn't stop you from going where the people were getting off the planes. They didn't have such security like they do now, you know. So we Bhagavan had arranged actually for permission for us to come and to greet him, and they put up a small Vyasasan for Prabhupada to sit on when he came out from the doorway. You know, the doorway that comes from that snake hallway thing that they put up to the airplane door, and then the people walk up and then they come out of the door, right? So we were sitting there with a kirtan, 200 devotees sitting. And, you know, we were also watching through the big window that the plane landed. That was confirmed to us. Prabhupada is on that plane. And the plane taxied up, you know. And now you cannot imagine what kind of heartbeats were going on in our chest. Boom, 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 boom. We're going to be seeing the pure devotee who sees Krishna, who is completely transcendental. He's realized the absolute truth. We're going to see him with our own eyes. And so what happened was people began getting off of the plane. Regular, normal, karmi people. They were like, you know, with this big kirtan going on. So they just continued, right? So many came off. And then a devotee came through the door. And then he said, Prabhupada's coming now. To all of us, you know. And then suddenly Srila Prabhupada appeared in the doorway with a big smile. And he walked out of the door into the area. Such a smile he had to see that he had gone away for a year and his movement in the meantime exploded. And there's all these new devotees. Never came to the Midwest before, right? And, you know, he was dressed luxuriously. This is how I came to tell this. Silks, radiant silks. And there's photos of him with this outfit. just come from India. He was all healthy, you know. And he had kind of dark, rich orange, very high quality silks that his kurta, his uttariya, everything. He had a couple of rings on his finger. He had this cane that had a silver, black cane with a silver carved handle. And over his shoulders was draped a golden colored shawl, not like for keeping warm. It was almost like very fine sari cloth, beautiful, thin, golden. And he had that as his chadar. And when he walked along, later on I began to understand it's almost like Lord Nityananda. Like Lord Nityananda, he came to the lowest, and some of the lowest were the goldsmiths and people, but he won their hearts, and they all decorated Nityananda in colorful turbans and jewels and this and that. It was like that, seeing Prabhupada, but he looked so beautiful. He looked so beautiful. I couldn't even have imagined. We saw many photos of Prabhupada up to that time. And a lot of them were black and white in those days, some color photos. But he was dressed very simply. And now all of a sudden he's dressed like this. So then Prabhupada moved forward and we paid our obeisances. And it was kind of like the story in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Mahaprabhu was talking about Lord Brahma came to Dwarka to see Krishna, and he was asked, which Lord Brahma? And then when he came in, then Krishna summoned all the Brahmas from the different universes, and they all arrived there, right? And some of them had 50 heads, 100 heads, and our Brahma was the smallest one amongst them. Krishna was just showing him, because he thought, what do you mean, what Brahma? I'm Brahma, And when their crowns, when all the Brahmas simultaneously paid obeisances, all their crowns made a crashing sound. So that reminded me of what it was like when the 200 devotees, for the first time seeing Prabhupada, and then paid their obeisances. It wasn't like a crashing sound, but it was like, all in unison. And when everybody sat up to look at Prabhupada again after paying obeisances, everyone's eyes were streaming with tears. I've seen photos of that time, and it's a fact. Everyone was streaming with tears. And then Kirtanananda Swami at the time, he came forward and gave a garland to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada embraced him, and he broke down weeping like a little child. Then Bhagavan came forward with a garland, and garlanded Prabhupada. Prabhupada embraced him, and he began weeping like a little child. It was the most amazing, one of the most amazing greetings of Prabhupada that I've been at. So then Prabhupada walked over to the seat on the Vyasasana, and Prabhupada began to speak. I think he chanted Jaya Radha Madhava with kartals. And then he spoke something brief. And he...
This is right in the waiting area?
Yes, yes. It wasn't blocking any of the walking area, but it was there. They had the permission to let Prabhupada. So then Prabhupada began to speak, and he also mentioned to us that prior to coming, on his way back to America from India, he went through Moscow. It was the only time that Srila Prabhupada went to Moscow. Only for a few days, 2 or 3 days. Shyamasundar was with him. And we've heard many more details about that Moscow visit. But at that time, Prabhupada only mentioned, he says, I have gone to Moscow. Prabhupada's sitting, and Prabhupada, quite often he would close his eyes and he would be speaking, and his hand gestures, And I was sitting on the side of Prabhupada, not directly facing him. I was sitting to one side. And I'm watching Srila Prabhupada and his hand movement. arguments. And then Prabhupada said, he said that I have come from Moscow and I have had a discussion with Professor Kotovsky. That was the name of the professor who invited Prabhupada. He was a Indologist or something. Yeah. And so he's a big scholar, and Prabhupada was mentioning that he had visited with this very learned Professor Kotovsky. And Prabhupada was saying that I was discussing with him about this Krishna consciousness. And I was explaining to him that we are not this body. But even though he was a very big scholar, he could not understand this very simple fact. And then Prabhupada said, I am not this body. And I'm watching Prabhupada, thinking, we know, we've learned, we have some faith that we're eternal souls. We're not this physical body. This body is just a vehicle. He has fully realized it, you know. So that was my impression of that greeting. And then he stayed for 3 days in Detroit, 3 days only. Amazing. That's a whole separate story, which we don't have time to tell. But at any rate, Prabhupada, one time he was in India, and they gave him some silk cloth. Actually, Bhagavat Maharaj told the story. He was there. They gave him some new silk cloth, and then Prabhupada dressed in his sannyas vesh. And then he came out and he went like this to the devotees. And then Prabhupada said, first dress, then address. And then he also mentioned on another occasion that to preach in India, it is necessary to exhibit some opulence. And he used the example that, you know, when he first was staying in Mayapur on their land, he was just in a simple straw hut. He said, if I would have remained in that small hut, nobody would have come. But now we are building a big Chandrodaya Mandir. So it is necessary in India to preach, to exhibit some opulence. So in this way, Mahaprabhu is telling Raghunath Das Goswami, don't dress luxuriantly, don't eat luxurious foodstuffs, this and that. But Prabhupada, to introduce the Krishna conscious movement, he introduced the Sunday feast. Of course, it wasn't always luxurious food during the week, but on that one day, very opulent, you know. And in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, prasadam is a very important activity. You see it all throughout the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. Big, huge feasts. It's Mahaprabhu's principle. We just heard about Raghunath Das Goswami's feast, you know. Everyone filled up to the neck, you see. But in general, he's giving this instruction to Raghunath Das Goswami, which is also meant to be applied by all devotees, particularly in the renounced order, but ultimately everyone one day will have to come to this higher standard. So then, after that, he said, the next verse, 2 verses that he told, Amani manadahaya Krishna nam sadalave vraje radha Krishna seva manase kuribe. So he said, Amani manadahaya. He said, do not expect honor, but offer all respect to others. Okay? And Krishna nam sada lave. Always chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. Sada means always. Always chant the holy names. Then, vraje radha Krishna seva manase koribe. And within your mind, manasa koribe, always render service to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Those are the 2 verses Mahaprabhu taught. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there's a very short little statement here. He says in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya that when a man and woman are married, they beget children, and they are thus entangled in family life. And talk concerning such family life is called Gramya Katha. A person in the renounced order never indulges in either hearing or talking about such subjects. He should not eat palatable dishes, since that is unfit for a person in the renounced order. He should show all respect to others, but he should not expect respect for himself. In this way, one should chant the holy name of the Lord and think of how to serve Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So then Mahaprabhu said, I have briefly given you my instructions. Now you will get all details about them from Swarup Damodar. And then Mahaprabhu quoted the verse, Trinadapi sunichena, Torodapi sahishnana, Amanina manadena, Kirtaniya sadahari. Then, having heard this, Raghunath Das offered prayers at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord, out of great mercy, embraced him. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again entrusted him to Swarup Damodar, and thus Raghunath Das rendered very confidential service with Swarup Damodar Goswami. And at this time, all the devotees from Bengal arrived. Remember how they were leaving at the same time as Raghunath Das Goswami? And we know that the parents, they thought, oh, he must be with them. So they sent all these 10 men, and then Shivananda Sain told them, he has not come here. So, and as previously, when all these devotees from Bengal arrived, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met them with great feeling. What is the word? Huh? Okay. So, then as he had previously done, he cleansed the Gundicha temple and held a picnic feast in the garden of the Gundicha temple with the devotees. Every year he's doing that. We'll be celebrating that soon. Then the Lord again danced with the devotees during the Ratha Yatra festival. And seeing this, Raghunath Das was struck with wonder. So when Raghunath Das met all the devotees, Advaita Acharya showed him great mercy. And then he also met Shivananda Sain, who informed him, oh, your father has sent 10 men to take you away. He wrote me a letter asking to send you back. But when those 10 men received no information about you, they returned home to Jankara. When all the devotees from Bengal returned home, after staying at Jagannath Puri for 4 months, then Raghunath Das's father heard about their arrival, and therefore he sent a man to Shivananda Sain. That man inquired from Shivananda Sain, did you see anyone in the renounced order at the residence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? That person is Raghunath Das, the son of Govardhan Majumdar. Did you meet him in Nilachala? And Shivananda replied, yes, sir. Raghunath Das is with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and is a very famous man. Who does not know him? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he continued, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has placed him under the charge of Swarup Damodar. Raghunath Das has become just like the life of all the Lord's devotees. He chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra all day and night. He never gives up the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not even for a moment. He is in the supreme order of renounced life. Indeed, he does not care about eating or dressing. Somehow or other, he eats and maintains his life. And after 4 hours of the night have passed, Raghunath Das has seen the performance of the Pushpanjali, the flower offerings. He stands at the Singhadwara gate to beg some alms to eat. He eats if someone gives him something to eat. Sometimes he fasts. Sometimes he chews fried grains. So after hearing this, the messenger returned to Govardhan Majumdar and informed him all about Raghunath Das. And hearing the description of Raghunath Das's behavior in the renounced order, his father and mother were very unhappy. Therefore, they decided to send Raghunath some men with goods for his comfort. So we'll read about that tomorrow and finish the chapter tomorrow. But Raghunath Das is interesting because he was doing a renunciation, various types of renunciation. When this money came, he began to invite Mahaprabhu every month, twice a month, for 2 years with that money and everything. He began to invite Mahaprabhu to come, and he would host a luxurious feast and everything, right, with that money. But then after 2 years, he stopped. So we'll hear tomorrow about how Mahaprabhu responded to this. Actually, he was very pleased because he understood. Gaur Premanandi, Shri Chaitanya Charitamritam ki jai. Jai Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. Jai Shri Swarup Damodar Prabhu ki jai. Shri Govinda Prabhu ki jai.
Thank you for joining us. I'll be starting the filming about 5:30 Pacific Standard Time.
Shri Nilachala Jagannatha ki jai.
Dandavat pranams to you all.